This is one of a string of mess up meetings. That's our specialty here, and we like it that way. That's my specialty. That and being recorded by a host or participant. It's always fun. So, welcome to the club, and let's get started with. Of course, this thing won't work while this is on. Got it? Okay, thank you very much. I see that everybody in the room has a mask and has it on because we're going to sing and you want to put that on. 400 new cases in the county. Isn't that exciting? John Greck.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, for most of us anyway. And Bob Kieser, can you please, oh wait, Bill Sauber.
Yeah. Make Bob safe and invite around the band. Microphone.
Are you going to take a selfie now?
No, you know the words. Come on.
Well, if you don't know the words, we don't know the words.
It's not the words that I got from me too.
Ah, okay.
So what am I going to sing today?
We don't know.
How about a bicycle built for two? Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer. I'm
half crazy over the
It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage. On the seat of a bicycle built for two.
Nice. Thank you, Bill. And thank you to Gus and the team who helped us to get set up, and the person who was going to help us to take things down isn't able to do that today. So if you folk are able to help us get cleared out of here again, that extra task makes the work lighter and gets us all out earlier. So thank you again. Our greeter was Brian Purcell, did an able job. Oh, yeah, sit down. What are you doing standing up? Thank you, Terry. It's Terry who gives me the hand signals that saves all of you guys from me. And thought for the day was Bob Kieser, I thought. Is this wrong?
I didn't know that.
Okay, you know, it's Bill Sauber.
So thought for the day. Oh, Ron, oh my gosh, it's good to see you. Come on. I walked a mile with pleasure. She had it all the way, but left me none the wiser for all she had to say. I walked a mile with sorrow. In narrow words, said she, but oh, the things I learned from her. Sorrow walked with me.
Thank you very much. Sorry for goofing that up. Visitors, guests, and participants. Joanna Curtis. There you are.
Start with Chief Davis. Do I have, yeah.
Just give you a brief introduction, very brief. This is Keith Davis, our speaker today. More later.
Good morning, Marty.
Thank you. Of all the introductions I've ever had, that was unquestionably the most recent. I printed out a few things today. The two things I was going to speak about today. I printed them up if you want to read about it afterwards, and I'll put them over there on that seat. Where do you want me to stand?
Oh, we're not ready for that yet. Thank you very much. You're just being introduced so people go, oh, that's Keith Davis. That's who that fellow is. And welcome, Keith Davis. Glad you're here.
Good morning, good morning. Okay.
Diana, mic a little closer. We're having trouble hearing.
Can you hear now? Yes. Okay, I have to put it right up to my, my face. So Jim Ferguson, Clemson, I'm sorry, past district governor. I put my foot in my mouth. There we go.
I have nothing to say. How about that?
Whoa!
It's been long enough now, but uh-oh.
There's a 12-step program, I
Introduce
suppose.
Kathy Flynn.
Good morning, it's nice to be here, and we're from the Rotary Club of Calistoga.
Thank you, Kathy. Oh, and here's another one of my favorite people over here, Ron Cutler, all the way from Hawaii.
Aloha. Darn, I had to miss a meeting or two. Good to see all of you.
Thank you.
And visiting us on Zoom, folks you can see over here on your left, you're Anna Booker, Wayne Britton, hello Darlene Brazil, Barbara, Judy, and Marnie. Welcome, glad to see you guys. Okay, it is now time to do the mute all so that we don't hear the background noise. And we have a special moment of recognition from past district governor Kathy Flamson, the person who knit together the fabric of all Rotarians here in the area for so long. And Lori, darling, would you please approach the podium?
Thank you, good morning. Well, I'm so glad to be back. And I miss the knitting needles in your hair. That stuck with me for years. I have the honor and the pleasure today of awarding you some wonderful, outstanding awards from the year 2019, 2020, when we didn't have a district conference because of that old darn COVID thing. So you guys, under the leadership of Lori, earned some lovely awards, and I wanted to bring them to you. And thank you for everything you did to participate. The first thing you earned from Rotary District, Rotary President Mark Maloney is the citation. Excuse me, you have a silver citation. Not sure what that means, but it matches my hair. So congratulations. That means that your club did an amazing amount of work that the president of Rotary International has set up, and you fulfilled those obligations under Lori's leadership, but we know you guys did all the work. And lastly, as district governor, I got to create an award if I wanted to, and I did. This is such a great, great district, and I wanted to knit us all together. And you did receive the Close Knit Community Challenge Award. So congratulations, that can go in your flag. And really thank you for everything you did.
Wow, thank you so much. What an honor. And Kathy, you came a long distance, you and Jim. So grateful to both of you for the work that you continue to do, because I understand that being district governor is a lifetime sentence. So Dan. Come on up and grab the mic. We want you out front here.
All right, can you hear me through the mask? Okay, so we've had a little bit of a bump in the road these last couple of years with fundraising, because during the pandemic, we really haven't been able to do any of our traditional methods of doing so. And we're about to start our second quarter century as a Rotary Club. And in not wanting to do, kind of a Band-Aid for this, but really launch us into our second quarter century on a very strong note, there were a few conversations with generous Rotarians, members, and other folks. And what we're trying to do is pre-fund our budget for the following year. In a non-traditional day, kind of a one-time, let's launch next quarter century. And so we've had a number of generous Rotarians say they will contribute to our club foundation at a $5,000 or higher level. So we're kind of calling those the big-hearted donors. And no, that doesn't work for everybody. But if somebody would like to do it at that level, please let us know. We'd be happy to do that. But we don't want to leave anybody out because we know everybody in this club is generous with their time. And if you would like to contribute at a different level, we're doing our Build a Solid Foundation to launch our second quarter century. So if you, before the end of this Rotary year, so at the end of June, if you would like to participate at a different giving amount to our club foundation, we would really appreciate that. And then we can launch our second quarter century. Diana's budget will be pre-funded for the year, and then the fundraisers from next year will be for the following year. So we will always be a year ahead and be able to plan our budget prudently. So that's an opportunity that we have between now and the end of this Rotary year. Thanks to all of you for your generosity, those who have already contributed and those who have yet or will do so before the year. So thank you very much.
As we looked at that problem, Dan had the inspiration, and people have already been generous. We're partway there. So we'll be talking about this, and the end of the Rotary year is July 1st. So look in your pocketbooks, talk with people at home, and see what levels work for you. And now, next year's fundraisers will be used to fund the year following. So we'll have our feet under ourselves and be moving forward in a very constructive way with a budget that that people actually can work with. So thank you very much to the people who have already stepped up, and everybody here is going to have that opportunity. Thank you. Minimum $50,000, and then target amount for the two levels. One is $5,000 to be part of the big-hearted donors, and any amount 150 and up to 5,000 is for the campaign, which is Build a Solid Foundation. So we need at least $50,000 to fund next year's activities and have directors working with a budget that they can work with. Then again, next year, we fundraise for the year afterwards, and whatever we fundraise that year will be what is ready for the year that follows this coming one. Any questions on that? And we'll be talking about some really tax-effective ways to give. Rotary inspiration, and this is so true. Is this not true? Warms my heart to think about it. Joyce, we did not see you for the longest time, but you're here. Come. And this is your, you had an anniversary and you almost missed it, but I saved it and put it back on the slide. So you have been with us longer than that time, but you were inducted on that date. So that's your official birth date as a member of the Rotary. So how's Rotary going thus far?
Oh, thank you so much. Actually, didn't realize that it was May that I was inducted. So thank you for reminding me. And I have been away for actually almost 2 months. So how Rotary has been going for me is actually connected to my trip to Kenya. I was in Kenya for almost 2 months. And when I went to Kenya, I had to go suddenly because my 90-year-old mom is very ill. But then when I was there, my brother passed on. my mom is okay. So when I look at what Rotary has brought to me is the little things that we do for the people that we serve and for each other. Because there was a misunderstanding somebody had that my mom had passed on. And on, I think it was on Sunday or Monday, I received a bouquet of beautiful flowers with a card from Rotarians telling me so sorry about my mom's passing. And that was one of the most touching things for me. And it brought me to tears that even though it was a misunderstanding, it was so thoughtful that the Rotarians, we look out for each other and we support each other in the little ways that we can. And it's a huge, huge thing for me. So that's me visiting Kisumu Rotary Club. I've been on a hunt for a Rotary Club and I visited them twice. It was a wonderful meeting. It's one of the oldest, but they're struggling for membership. There were only 8 people, but it was a wonderful meeting. So I crossed the equator to be able to attend the meeting. Sorry, the equator, I crossed the equator from Kisumu to go to my home. So that's me crossing the equator, going to have the meeting in Kisumu. And that there is my mom. She's going to be 90 in a month with her great, great grandchildren. She's still okay, she's not able to walk, but that's the latest picture I have of her, so I'm very blessed. And thank you so much, Rotary, and thank you for making my heart so full. I still think about the flowers and I want to cry. So thank you, Rotary. That's what I want.
So sorry for your loss and so glad that you are here. And your mother must feel pretty good to have a daughter who will come all around the world to see her and support her. She's very fortunate. I'm sure you're fortunate to have a mother like her. Linda Taylor. And thank you for arranging things for us.
Also, Al Lustig's wife, Angela, is at Apple Valley. She fell and broke 6 ribs. So Rotary, Sunshine Rotary also sent her some flowers and a card.
Thank you so much. So Linda, we really appreciate the work that you are doing. Thank you so much for that. I know you love it, but we love you for it. And so that works best if you are reaching out and telling Linda about the triumphs and tragedies that happen in all of our lives. So thank you so much. Let's see. See, I'm not supposed to walk away from the podium because I leave this behind. Marty Webb. Huh. I hear a rumor.
What rumor is that?
That you're going to buy drinks for everybody in the club.
I don't know about that.
Oh, you're not all paid up.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Never vouch.
Sid?
What? No, tell us what happened.
Well, I sold our house in Tahoe, which we had for over 25 years. And then we had, of course, the tragedy of the water line breaking upstairs and had to redo it. So it was, which was 2 years ago. Well, it's worth a lot more money now, and I had somebody that wanted to buy it and sold it. So, you know, I'm going to miss being able to go up there, but I'll still be able to go up in this stage someplace and not have to worry about homeowners' dues, taxes, water leak. Spectrum cable TV, et cetera, that I'm paying for. So, and I help contribute because next year, the people that still own there are gonna have to pay taxes that are gonna be out of sight because of the number of units that sold and the price they sold at. Or shall, because I called to complain when I got my tax bill this year. Called the assessor up there and he said, well, Mr. Webb, 9 units sold and they're all over 700,000. Well, they're selling a lot more than that now. At the price, it's much higher. So those people will be paying more taxes. I'm sorry to say. So thank you for recognizing that.
Well, congratulations on that wonderful thing. And the good news is whenever you want to go up to Tahoe and go skiing, you can just charter a limo and they'll put you in the fine hotels and life is good for Marty Webb. Thank you, Marty.
Yes, and I'll put $100 towards my Paul Harris, second Paul Harris.
Excellent, thank you. So we had a moment out at the coast, recognizing and celebrating the life of Lori Ann Ament, Gus's daughter. And this was a beautiful ceremony. Lori passed away in the spring, and we're really, really sorry to see Lori go. She's such a friend of the club and participated in many of our activities. And it's rough, but Gus, we see you as doing real well and moving forward, and the tribute was fabulous. It was out of doors. You can see people out at the coast. People spoke. It was a lovely ceremony, and people hiked, which was Lori's big passion. Look at her, vital and hiking. She was a huge fan of hiking and led a hiking class activity for years for Santa Rosa Junior College. So there we were. Joe was there, Bill was there, Gus was there, I was there, and there's Dan. So we were there to join you, and we're happy to do so. It was a lovely day, wasn't it? Yeah. So here we are. And talk about magic moments. This is a fireside chat inducting Anna Booker, Debbie Klein, and Linda Taylor to our club. Past presidents got together, talked, told stories, told about the service and the avenue of service, and it was orchestrated by Kathy Rogers and hosted by Marty Webb. It was a lovely, lovely event. We had a good time. Anything anybody wants to say about it?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's do say that. Thank you very much. Whenever Marty throws a party, you should show up. And there was no photo taken. Diana Curtis, we didn't get any photos from your board retreat. Your new board got together this weekend. How did it go?
Oh dear. We didn't take any pictures. We were too busy eating popcorn and cookies and talking about what we're going to do next year. It went very well. Everyone showed up, which I was thrilled by, because at 3 a.m. I had this nightmare that, oh my God, my board, they aren't going to show up in the morning. So I did get in touch with all of them, and it was really great. We're looking forward to a terrific year this next year, and I'm looking forward to it. And thank you all.
And just for a quick review, this is this year's board and leaders here and here and here. And of course, all of you, because you provide the leadership as we move through. But these are folk who volunteer on a regular basis and take positions And that is something that all of the things that we have seen thus far are things that we can think about and have gratitude for. So if you are somebody who would like to share a moment of gratitude with us for something that's going on in your life, or a moment of just recognition of an important passage, please feel free, this is the time. And if you get inspired, you could make a contribution to the Club Foundation, to the Rotary Foundation, or simply commit to do an act of kindness. Is there somebody who would like to volunteer? Linda.
Thank you, President David. Seeing Jim and Kathy Flamson today warms my heart. Jim Flamson was governor when I got to lead the club as president, and we were chosen as Large Rotary Club of the Year that year. And I asked Jim, why did you pick us? And he said, it was because of the way you all made me feel when I walked into the room. And so here we are together again in person, and let's keep this going. Everybody stay healthy, and it's just wonderful to see us all still in action. Thanks for visiting today. And I'll contribute to my Paul Harris.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, hi, David and the club. I've been doing a lot of cleaning out and reorganizing around my house. And one of the things I came up with was the Hiker's Hip Pocket Guide to Sonoma County. And since we are a hiking Rotary Club here, I want to donate this fine book to Ann Needham here, who chooses the hike. It's a little dated, but you know, I got it off my shelf anyway. And if anybody wants some books, let me know. I've got boxes full.
Wonderful.
This one's for my future soulmate, Ron Cutler. It's a special moment. If you can go back 10 slides with a little bit of each of us and everybody else. We're doing the backpacks for midwives in Burma. Michael's trip a long time ago, and it was like 3 couples or 3 families. Went way back into the back parts of Thailand, right at the border of Burma. And somewhere back in there, there was some kids who were selling an opportunity, which was you pay to have this little bird let free out of its cage, and you would be soulmates in a future life. And so we did that. So Ron and I will be soulmates next time. For that, I'll give $150 to Club Foundation.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
I had a good week. I took my trike out. I rode it twice last year, and I got it out and had to buy batteries, so I got to ride Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, not today, too early. And then my observation deck, which was about a 2-year project because the price of wood went crazy up. I got to go out and see the moon, which was stunningly beautiful. And I thought of Linda and her telescopes the whole time. So I had a really good week. So I'll make a donation to the Club Foundation.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? And let's move forward. This exchange student, we're still looking for a spot. Yesterday, John Breck hosted a Interact Club, and only 7 days left to teach in this year for you, and then you are off for a year. How cool is that? So went there, and John is helping us to promote inside of the high school potential host families. So thank you very much, John. And flyers are on the table, and you got one in an email. We're still looking for that. And we need to have that real quick, because by the end of this month, they want us to have identified a student. It takes so long to process, apparently. Laguna High School, that's coming up. June the 2nd, that came in an email. You'll get reminders again, but let's all put that on our calendar and plan to be there. And if you can arrive a half hour early, you can be an usher. A job. I'm gonna. Oh my God, too much stuff. District conferences this weekend. Saturday, the 21st is a celebration of life. So this Saturday, 1 o'clock, Community Center for Ted Walker, a former club member and member of the trustees of the Sebastopol and a variety of things. International Committee meets next week. Redwood Empire Food Bank on the 26th. May 28th, a memorial service for Ed Barrett, former superintendent of West County High School, former optimist, so was in a club with many of the people who were here. And so that's coming up. And I think Dan Needham knows the details. Community Services meeting is on June 6th. It's on the calendar. June 12th, Ryla Barbecue. Are we looking for volunteers for that, Dan? What are you looking for?
4 to 6.
4 to 6 people?
4 to 6 people, and that's from the 2 clubs. I think, okay. Well, we've got Marty and Kathy. Okay, so great. Okay, so we're good on that. And there will be a half-hour online training that's required to work with RILA students, and I'll get you hooked up with that. Okay, so that's great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, that training is for anybody who is going to be working with youth in a Rotary related way. So interact any way that you interact with students. They want you to have a special training and get a little background check. We don't know where you've been. We like you. But there we go. Any announcements for the good of the order? Where did the time go? It's time almost for our speaker. I know it is time. Next week's speaker is going to be Elizabeth Vermelia talking about ACERS and Charlie.
So I want to give a little longer introduction for Keith Davis. Keith is, he's an interesting guy. I've had some conversations with him and he asked me to keep this really short. And I told him I can't, because his background is so interesting and varied. He's a native San Franciscan. He was a student in West Berlin during the Cold War, and he'll tell us about that today, as well as his experience in Czechoslovakia in August of 1968, which is relevant to current affairs. He's lived some interesting times, and he was a participant. He enlisted in the Navy and served on a nuclear fast attack submarine for 2 years. On leaving the Navy, he worked at Hunters Point Naval Shipyard and learned German on the side. And from that, he then used his GI Bill to attend the Free University of West Berlin. His first job after that was an engineer on a 62-foot schooner that sailed throughout the South Pacific. He then worked for SF San Francisco Muni for 8 years, designing software programs in Fortran, which some of us may remember. He's an entrepreneur and opened an ice cream parlor at the 1972 Olympics in Munich, which some of us may also remember. The Olympics, not the ice cream. He co-founded an early Silicon Valley firm which built robotic work cells and computerized machine tools. He then spent 5 years in Saudi Arabia as a software consultant and left to do SAP software implementations in Germany. He eventually became an independent SAP consultant doing projects in Argentina, Mexico, Holland, France, Germany, Spain, Pakistan, and various places throughout the USA. He retired in 2012. He continues his long-distance blue water sailing. He writes and he enjoys research. His friend, George Dutton, talked him into making a presentation about his days as a student in Europe to the Healdsburg Club, and he graciously agreed to do the same for us. So come on up here, Keith.
No, no, so, okay, can everybody hear me? Okay? Okay. And pardon me? Okay, thanks for that magnanimous introduction. I'm kind of a private person and talking about myself in front of a large room full of total strangers, it's kind of intimidating. I'm sorry, I'm not a great public speaker. So if the continuity doesn't seem to flow really great, it's because I'm not a politician with a teleprompter, so I have to jump around. Yeah, I went to university to try to establish brevity. I will just jump out there and say, I learned German so I could attend Humboldt University, where they produced 57 Nobel Prize winners. I thought maybe it would rub off on me. It didn't. But it was quite an experience and affordable, because with GI Bill, the exchange rate at the time was 4 to 1. So I get 4 Deutschmarks for $1. I was getting 700 plus American dollars deposited in a bank in West Berlin in Deutschmarks. So I was getting about 2,800 Deutschmarks, which was more than a mechanic made in Germany at the time. And universities are free in Europe, well, most of them. And I paid the equivalent in dollars of $78 a year to matriculate as a foreigner. And I lived in a student village studio. I paid the equivalent of $14 a month for that. And like I was saying, I was getting 2,800 marks a month. And when I dated, I took my dates to East Berlin. And in East Berlin, say it's a $2 date, okay? So off we go to, yeah, you'd be surprised. So I went through Checkpoint Charlie, the whole 4 years, never. And I went Friedrichstrasse to go into East Berlin. And once we exited out into East Berlin from the Friedrichstrasse processing, you know, because you're going from West Berlin to East Berlin when you do that, even policemen would come up to you. You could look at your shoes and your haircut, your watch, your clothes, and realize, you know, this gal or guy is from the West, and they'd want to exchange money. And I always held out for 10 to 1, but they'd start at 7, and so now I've got 80, they give me 10 to 1. So I've got my, you know, 8 Deutschmarks I started with, right, $2. Now 8 Deutschmarks, 10, I've got 80 Deutschmarks, and food and restaurants were very reasonable in East Germany. So I could take her to a nice restaurant, have a nice meal, and get good tickets to whatever we were attending, the Bertolt Brecht Theater or the Staatsoper or the State Opera House or concert or cabaret night or something, whatever. And to have money left over. So, you know, there were a lot of incentives for me to, and other reasons I went to university in Berlin. Now, I took my guitar with me as I knew how to play 7 chords, so I could play folk music and a little blues, you know. So I would play occasionally at this dump, a beer joint called Danny's Pan. And it was in under an archway of brickwork that held up the elevated streetcars. And so whenever a streetcar went over, the, you know, fine cement dust would trickle down into your beer. And they didn't pay us, but we got free beer and got to meet girls. So it was a typical college student. And one night, these 3 guys came to me during the spring of 1968. And I'll backtrack a little bit to make it all, you know, coalesce. In January of 1968, Czechoslovakia elected Alexander Dubček as the head of state. And he immediately in January began to implement reforms, liberalizing the communist government of that puppet state. He granted freedom of the press. He created a second communist party, so you had a choice between two candidates instead of just one. Avant-garde films were allowed to be made. You could have dialect on the radio and TV to discuss current issues. You could have another opinion, but most of all, he allowed Czechoslovakians to go get a passport and travel abroad. Many of them did, and they never came back. And one night, now you can see why these 3 Czech students were available in West Berlin. They were visiting. They came up during a break. They said, "Are you an American?" And I said, "Yes." And the other guys, "Well, Patty's Irish and Roger's an American." He says, "Well, you can't make this stuff up." The guy's name was Rudolf Krautschneider. He was the president of the Czechoslovakian Student Union nationwide. And he said, "We want to invite you to come to Czechoslovakia, the 3 of you, to come to Czechoslovakia and play at Comenius University in Bratislava." And then and we did, we went and we played at the Karl University in Prague. And then we were in Brno, we played there at night, August 20th, 1968. And it was 3 in the morning. I was asleep on the 3rd floor in the student dorms, and they woke me up. Keith, come to the window and look. So we went over to the window and looked out, and we were surrounded by T-34 and T-50 Russian tanks. The building was, the Russians had invaded the Warsaw Pact army, because I'm not justifying it, I'm just explaining it from a rational standpoint. So the Soviet Union dictatorship could not allow a puppet state to let its people have more freedom than the people in the Soviet Union. They had to crush this rebellion, let's call it. So that's what happened, not justifying it. And there is a parallel with this recent invasion of Ukraine. I noticed, so I worked in logistics and supply chains and things of that nature. And my work as I used to implement SAP software. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of SAP, but it's the 2nd largest software company in the world after Microsoft, but a different world and different kind of software. So anyway, I'm losing my place here. Oh, so these guys, so we were talking to the tank crews that were there. Not me, I don't speak Russian, but all the Czechs did, because under 20 years of communism, going to school from kindergarten on, they had to attend a Russian class. So they were talking to the Russian tank crews. So what are you guys doing in our country? What do you mean your country? We're in some remote part of Russia putting down a rebellion. So, no, you're not. You're in Czechoslovakia. They're showing them their passports and maps and newspapers and, so they, and the money, you're not in Russia. So these guys felt betrayed. And I don't know if you're following this Ukraine war at all on, the internet, some of the news, look at the English pages of foreign and European newspapers, and you'll see a lot of the Russian soldiers are defecting, and they're very, morale is terrible. And they did the same thing in Czechoslovakia. They did the same thing in Ukraine. Remember when it started, there was that view of 40 kilometers of tanks and trucks not moving. They didn't have diesel fuel, they didn't have water, they didn't have food. It was the same thing in Czechoslovakia. And some soldiers, they wouldn't give them water or food unless they deserted. And the deserters, most of them were caught and shot, executed behind the student dorm building. The field was covered with that red-brown color of dry blood. It was pretty gruesome. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of any, and then in Berlin, I had only been there as a student for a couple months, And one night, these guys knocked on my door, and I opened it. These three guys were right out of a 40s film noir movie. They had Burberry type full-length overcoats. We don't wear things like that in California. And they looked like they were out of a 40s movie. And they said, "Are you Keith Davis?" And I said, "Yes." They said, "Can we come in and speak to you?" And I, "Sure." And I invited them in, and it was, after all, Deutschland. So I offered them a beer. We're sitting around. I said, "So let's get, what's up?" They said, "Well, we know that you go to East Berlin quite often." Well, I said, "Yeah, the library is in the Soviet sector. I'm a student here, you know." And they said, "Well," and plus that question made me a little nervous. I said, "Who are these guys?" And it turns out they were from Galen, Gehlen, you can Google it. This was an organization going back all the way to the 1920s. And they helped people, and then at that time, 1966, 7, 8, you know, when I was there, they were helping people escape from behind the Iron Curtain, okay? And what they wanted of me, they said, "Will you be willing to carry verbal messages back and forth to help people escape?" And I was very leery. I thought, well, these guys are Stasi, secret police from East Berlin, they're setting me up, you know. I said, "Look, why don't you let me sleep on it? Come back tomorrow night and I'll give you my answer." And then they said, "Okay, fair enough." They left, and the next morning I got up real early, like this morning, and and I went to the president of the police. That's the title, just like in the Tom Selleck Blue Bloods TV show. He's the commissioner of the New York City. Well, the title in West Berlin was president of the police. So I went to his office and talked to one of his people and explained, and they picked up a phone and made a call, and some guy came in a couple minutes later with mugshot books, and he said, "Go through these mugshots if you see these guys that visited you." And I found 2 of the 3. So they said, "They're probably legitimate, but if you do that, we can't help you. If you get in trouble, you're on your own over there. Don't do it." So, and I did it. I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it," when the guys came back. Yeah, I was young, idealistic, you know, foolish. So, but I did it, and it was an interesting experience. And I'd like to think I maybe helped some people escape from behind the Iron Curtain. You know, over 100 people were killed trying to cross from East Berlin to West Berlin. Berlin was, at that time anyway, the largest city in the world, not in population, but in area. There were 3 international airports. It's huge. It's a huge city. There's one of the biggest lake is 23 miles long inside the city limits. There's a forest in the middle of the city. It's huge. It's really a huge city. And then the wall went around West Berlin, including the countryside, so people couldn't escape from the countryside of East Berlin to East Germany into West Berlin and escape, right? The wall was 97 miles long, just to encompass West Berlin from the countryside. And then the zigzag wall across town was 27 miles long. So well over 100 miles of wall machine. And there were 2 walls really. There was in between, there were mines, and it was macabre. It was really macabre. And when I would get an assignment, I'd say, "Hey, I'm going to the library tomorrow." And they said, "Okay, we want you to go, you know, in this time period, go to this part." I'm giving you just one example so I can move on. And say they told me to meet a woman wearing black slacks, reading a newspaper, and the messages were always codified, you know. So like something like potato production is up in Poland, you know. And I would ask them, "Do you have a message for me to take back?" And I, even before they asked me to do this, I always took well, not always, but in the daytime, I tended to always have my camera with me always black and white film. This was in the olden days when you put film, and we're all old enough to remember that, right? And black and white because there was no color in East Berlin. Everything's gray. And I would take lots of pictures, dogs, buildings that still had pockmarked bullet holes, you know, the grime at the train station, and it was just, you know, taking pictures, kids playing soccer, dogs, whatever. And I was almost always followed and kind of expected that, you know, when I came through, the Stasi would assign somebody to kind of follow me around. Because you had rules, you couldn't take photos of the wall from the east side, was against the law. And of course, you were forbidden to take photos of police or military. And I obeyed the rules. I, you know, I didn't want to get in trouble. So how am I doing on time? Yeah, okay, I was going to try to wrap it up. So I would make that rendezvous, and I always, even prior to carrying messages, I always asked, in German, of course, you know, do you mind if I take your photograph? And they'd give me a, you know, apprehensive yeah, and I would take, let's say you're the contact. Well, I didn't really take a picture, I pretended, and I turned, so my back would be to that, whoever might be following me. And I'd go like this, and then I would get up closer and say, potato production is up in Poland, message for me. And they might say something like, rainfall in India is 100, so, you know, a very arcane. And then I would take it, meant, you know, it's on for Thursday, we need a bigger spoon, who knew, you know, so I just delivered the messages. And was an interesting 4 years. And students in Europe are a privileged class. I could go to the symphony, the Berlin Philharmonic, and listen to Herbert von Karajan for 25 cents. Conduct 1 mark, Stehplätze, the little standing places for students at the top of these rows. It was fantastic. It was a great experience. And, oh, geez, I meant to pass all this stuff around. I'll send this one around now real quickly. This was a bookmark at the top from the students of the university in Brno. It's got a Russian tank on it. They sent it to me for my birthday. And this, because we're hitting inflation in America, this is 1 billion Reichmarks from 1923. And this is $100 trillion from Zimbabwe. And and my Volkswagen that I drove to Czechoslovakia, but I don't have time to elaborate anymore. And I printed out some stuff. So if you people want to read about the wall and about the Russian invasion in 1968, I'll put them on that table over there. And did you pass that around? I do want that back, you know. Oh, I didn't even get to tell one anecdote. The one school teacher I met at a cabaret in East Berlin taught 6- and 7-year-olds. And you have to know that the TV was very primitive there. And they didn't use advertising like we do. And so if the program didn't end on the hour, let's say it ended at 10 minutes to 8, there was a 10-minute gap. And they put a picture of the clock on the screen. Well, you were forbidden, of course, in East Germany to watch Western TV from West Berlin or AFN, American Armed Forces Network. They broadcast in English and German. They had programs, you watched the Lone Ranger, all these programs from those days. And it was forbidden. So, but here's the difference, okay? So you're not supposed to watch that TV. So once a year, the teacher told me somebody would come from the secret police in their suit and tie and tell the, show the badge to the teacher. And she would introduce this guy to the class. And he would say, okay, boys and girls, take out a piece of paper, write your name on the top, and now draw a picture of the clock on the television. Here's what I'm getting. This is exaggerated to make the point, but if you were watching Western TV, the clock looked like this. If you're watching
Eastern TV, it looked like this. So then the Stasi guy would, okay, pass your papers up to the front. Thank you, boys and girls. And he would take it back to the Stasi headquarters, and all the ones with square maps, those families went under surveillance. They lost promotion opportunities, the ability to buy a car, get a better apartment, travel abroad on vacation, and so on. So I think my time is almost up. Is anybody had any couple of quick questions? I'd be glad to, or you could jot your email address on the back of $100 bill and pass it up. Glad that, yeah. Sure. I didn't go back to Berlin for 38 years. And then I was invited by the head of the German department at Stanford to go to a Stanford alumni tour of Berlin with him. But for other reasons, because of things that I did for the Bundesrepublik Deutschland. I occasionally get free tickets to go to a German composer concert in San Francisco to this day. It's amazing. So yeah, it was so different. I couldn't believe it. The difference. It's just amazing. I'm sorry.
Did you ever almost get caught? Were you ever scared?
No, but let me tell you, every time I was coming back, I would I would be sweating like a drug mule going through customs, you know. But no, I was never busted. I got it. They took me in and they would long diatribes, you know, about Marxism versus capitalism. Really boring stuff, you know. So, but any other questions?
Well, one question. Are you able to stay for a little bit afterwards so that people who've got questions, we've got people we need to get off.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. Yeah.
But that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
How courageous of you. I do have one question I'd like to hear.
Foolish might have been a better one.
Foolish might be right. But that was then and now is now. How many messages do you suppose you carry?
Well,
Just a rough estimate.
1 or 2 a week for 4 years.
Well, you are a guy who took some chances.
Yes, stupidly, frankly. I'd never do it today. You know.
Well, you're here.
I'm
You're
getting-
here now. You made it.
I'm getting ready to take the great third nap, and I'm cherishing every day. It's great. When I think back on what I did, what an idiot. But
Seemed like a good idea at the time, right?
was definitely interesting. That's all I can tell you.
So, well, thank you so much. That was very great. We're very grateful for your joining us and for the work that you did and the many, many, many people you helped. Isn't that an amazing thing? So we are going to donate, or we have donated a book about diversity, equity, and inclusion to a local school library. And we're going to endorse one of those books with your name in honor of your being with us today. So thank you so much for all that you did and all you are. So, Michael Cook, yes, please put those over there, and if you can wait for a few minutes, that would be great. Michael Cook.
Hey. It's a careful study. I came up with a joke in honor of Oliver. My dog is half Labrador, half pit bull. She bites off my leg and then brings it back to me.
Good job. And that's from the book that Scott Hensey gave me at the beginning of the school year. Well, take us out. And by the way, don't. Lean up.